Hello, and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, a podcast where we take a random subject that kind of interests us and, well, cast some views. I'm Lou, and I'm here with.
Dan, hello.
I love that lag. That lag wasn't
Sorry,
planned.
sorry.
Right, this week's topic is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be an interesting one or a fun one because we've picked a topic that, in reality, in the grand scheme of, we know sweet fuck all about because we are, I imagine, cryptocurrency virgins.
I definitely am.
I am as well. So we're going to be talking about crypto because you know what? Why not cast some views about nothing, something that we've got no idea about? Um,
The best kind
so
of views to cast.
I guess what we'll do is we'll start out with kind of what cryptocurrency is. So we'll start out with the biggest one because I imagine everybody on and their dog has heard of Bitcoin, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was the only one really at first, but yeah, no,
Well, yeah,
apparently
it
there's
turns out
loads.
there's hundreds of them. There's cryptocurrency that look like dogs. There's
Yeah.
there's cryptocurrencies that do everything. It's amazing. Bitcoin was created in 2009. I'm reading this off of an article, and this is which, by the way, so I'm referring. So if there's any problems with what we say here, of which I'm sure there'll be lots of things that are incorrect, at least we can refer to sources. So Bitcoin was created in 2009 by an anonymous developer and hit mainstream in 2013 following a rise in value. Now, if I remember rightly, Bitcoin was actually like worthless at the beginning. Like it was like thousands of Bitcoin equaled a pound, basically, is from what I remember when it first started.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, something we've all got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. And obviously, Bitcoin is and cryptocurrencies in general, are obviously, it's money that doesn't exist. It's basically the most basic definition, I guess.
That's the weird thing about it, isn't it? Although I was almost referring to it as a virtual currency, but it's not. It's a separate I think a virtual currency can be anything that is literally a currency that's virtual, whereas cryptocurrency, I think, is very specific in that it's like you said, it's just data that's
Yeah,
encrypted,
yeah.
hence a crypto. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not backed to buy anything, I guess, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, whilst the bank balance that you pull up on your mobile banking will give you an account figure, if everybody went to pull their money out of the bank, they wouldn't be able to because there's just not enough physical cash for it. But I guess it's guaranteed technically by your state, I guess.
Yeah, well, here we have, if you're with a proper bank, for want of a better term, yeah, you're guaranteed up to 80,000, aren't you? If anything goes under or down. But I guess I mean, we're going to really start branching off already at random here, but I know like certain countries like Argentina, I think it was Argentina in like the early 2000s, they woke up and their currency had like devalued to almost nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess there's risks there as well, right?
I mean, I guess it's all fake, really, isn't it?
Well,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
pound in your pocket is still fake, really, isn't
just a
it?
bit of metal. That's the funny thing. I mean, I was going to say, what is value? In the end, we're carrying around these little coloured bits of metal and some, well, they were paper notes. They're now that weird monopoly kind of plastic money, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm looking at somebody. I'm just like, I will give you one laminated piece of paper, and you'll provide me with a sandwich. That's really what it is, isn't it? But yeah, with cryptocurrencies, obviously, I would say that since COVID hit, I think cryptocurrencies have obviously taken off because like Bitcoin prices like skyrocketed. I think it hit peak of like 53 grand per Bitcoin, which is obviously mental. And lots of people have made a lot of money, and there are probably lots of people who have also lost a lot of money. But I guess my discussion about cryptocurrency wanted to be as to whether or not it's something that's, I don't want to say, is it the future, because it's actually here and now,
Mm.
but is it here to stay, basically? Or is it something that is really just a fad? So I wanted to start as well with a story about Bitcoin, and it was about Bitcoin's Pizza Pay, I think is what it's called.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No.
Okay, so basically, this was when Bitcoin was in its infancy. So it was basically the first Bitcoin transaction, and it was basically a day where a man in Florida paid with Bitcoin to buy two pizzas.
Oh, right.
Basically,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
first transaction, and it's basically become a like part of internet cryptocurrency culture because the person paid 10,000 Bitcoin, which is probably worth in the region of like 100 million quid or something stupid now, for two pizzas. Basically, he'd
Jeez.
had two Papa John's pizzas delivered, and they were just like, yeah, sure, I guess. And it's become a bit of a kind of like meme day, I guess, because of the fact that he paid the equivalent of what is like, a small nation's GDP for two Papa John's pizzas nowadays.
Well, and I've said it on here enough times. I bloody love pizza, but I'm not sure I'd pay that much.
Well, I mean, how was he to know? I think I saw something as well not long ago where there was like a competition prize pool for like a World of Warcraft tournament or something. And it says first place $500, second place $250, third place so on and so forth. And then it gets from places 5 to 8, and the prize for places 5 to 8 is 25 Bitcoin.
Wow.
And obviously, this was back in the day when it was just worthless. And now, imagine if you'd have won it, you'd probably just sat somewhere and you just haven't even touched it and just completely forgotten about it, and you're actually a
I'm just too
millionaire.
late to the party with all these kind of things.
Yeah, this is the thing. Do you know when if anybody ever says to you, if you could go back and tell yourself like one bit of advice, I'd just scream at my past self, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
You'd be like, don't be stupid.
Yeah, I'll be like, nah, get out of here. But yeah, I mean, nowadays as well, there are like some companies that are actually accepting Bitcoin as payment. I saw it as recently as last week, which is funnily enough, that there was a kebab shop in England that was taking like Bitcoin, Ethereum as payment for kebabs
That
as
is
well.
quite random.
It is a little bit random. It's very strange. I mean, I would have never have thought about it, but I guess if somebody buys it one day, the amount of money that they've paid you that one day could be worth double the next. I don't know. It just seems there's obviously a lot of other cryptocurrencies, and so I'll talk about one that was obviously a bit of a meme, which is Dogecoin.
Yeah, yeah.
I imagine you've heard of Dogecoin.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned the three. I only really know three. Is Bitcoin, of course, Dogecoin, and Ethereum.
Yeah, because I think those are the three main ones that people talk about when I see people pop up on my TikTok giving cryptocurrency advice on charts that I don't understand.
That's exactly
Um,
where you should be getting your cryptocurrency
yeah,
advice from as well, by the
maybe.
way. Yeah, TikTok. Yes, throw the witch website out the window that you're reading from. TikTok is the way to go.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think Dogecoin was created in 2013, and from what I've read, I understand it to have basically been designed just as a parody of cryptocurrency. And then, as we know with anything, if Elon Musk decides to tweet about it, that thing is inherently worth 100 times more than it was before. So even
Mm.
Dogecoin, if you'd owned it a year and a half, 2 years ago, would have made you a millionaire by this point if you'd have owned some. But yeah, I don't know whether or not in reality cryptocurrency is the future, because it feels like a bit of a fad almost. It took off in reality when you look just pre kind of COVID, and has kind of sat, and it's been really, really hyped. But my only problem with it, and again, you know what, we're going to get some people that are listening to this that are going to be like, they don't know what they're talking about. We know, we know.
Yeah, you're right, by the way. Yeah.
You are right. So please correct
But we're
us.
having fun. Leave us alone.
But I don't know if there's any long term use, because it is it not just backed by hype? I don't know.
This is it. Do you want? Well, I was gonna say, do you want to know my view on it? It'd be pretty rubbish if I didn't give you my view on it, right? But my take on it is exactly that. So, yes, I've got in my wallet. I open it up. So I've got £10, right? That £10 today may not be worth the £10 it is tomorrow, or what it was worth yesterday. But we're still talking about kind of minor variations unless something major happens. So that £10 I know roughly is going to buy me the same thing each week. I've got £10 I can give to you. It's easily I could go to work and I can earn that £10. The thing about cryptocurrency is at the moment it's almost like shares. It's more shares, I'd say.
Yeah,
You couldn't just go and earn it. You couldn't just get it. We haven't got loads of accounts with this cryptocurrency in. And exactly that. If all of a sudden tomorrow it takes a nosedive, that those 100 million sort of bitcoins could be worthless, or they could make me the next sort of richest person in England. But it feels like with money and currency, at least you know where you are. And like I said, it's available. I mean, I don't know if it's changed now, but Bitcoin, didn't you have to mine it? Wasn't it a case of you just had to have your computers processing overnight? And wasn't it a case of, especially nowadays, that it's going to cost you more in electricity than you are earning
yeah,
anything from it?
yeah. So basically, there are still like people that own like entire Bitcoin farm. Bitcoin farms is a mad sentence, but yeah, Bitcoin farms where they've just got hundreds of computers processing to mine Bitcoin. Now, the only thing that's different that people have that said on TikTok about Bitcoin, is that it's got a finite amount. So there are only a
Yeah.
certain number of Bitcoin that you can have, which I get. Fine, okay, fair enough. Because unlike Doge, more Doge is issued each year, from what I understand. So
Okay.
the
Okay.
value essentially is more likely to go down because there isn't a cap to what number of Dogecoin you can have, basically. But the only problem that I still have is there's still nothing. It's still just like a phantom, isn't it? Even if there's 21 million Bitcoin or whatever it is, it's still just a phantom based on the hype of the person believing that that's what it's valued at. So, unlike, for instance, I go buy shares in Apple, I am safe in the knowledge that Apple is a company that will probably continue to do well long after I'm gone off of this planet, inevitably. So it's backed by company success. Like you're banking on companies that are doing well. Whereas with Bitcoin, what are you actually banking on? What are you betting on? Because to me,
Exactly. Exactly.
it just seems like high level gambling. Basically, is the way it comes across to me. And I've got no problem with that. If you want to do that, I'm probably going to go out and buy Dogecoin just for the fucking sake of it. Now, after this, I'm just to see.
Well, I'll come on to that in a second, but it just feels like it's just confidence in it and activity, market activity. That's why, like I said, I know it's not shares, and like I said, someone out there is probably going to tell me exactly why it's not like shares. But in my head, that's how I liken it. It's all about the activity for that particular cryptocurrency. And it's funny actually, we're talking about this, and it's funny what you just said because I overheard a couple of people at work talking this week, and one of them said, "Oh yeah, I might just buy 50 quid of it." And I said, "Oh, what are you spending your money on?" And they said, "Oh, cryptocurrency." And I said, "Oh, isn't it a bit late?" And they're saying, "Oh, well, you know, you can find these lists of the next 10 to look at." And a colleague said, "Oh, I'm just gonna, you know, I'll stick 50 quid on it and see it." And I'm thinking, you know, kind of like that, yeah. But exactly like you said, it's a gamble. It's gambling. I'll buy 50 quid and let's see what it's going to be worth in a couple of years. Whereas that 50 quid, I'm going to go out now and get me a nice meal, probably get me a couple of vinyls, a collectible vinyl, and I know I can exactly use it or give it to someone else and know exactly what it's worth. But the fact that, you know, they're gambling on what that's going to be worth, like you said, is not physically backed by anything. It's not make believe because it's real, but it's just totally, what's the word? The fact that there is no real no real reality sounds crazy, but it is. It's just you never see it. It's just a number. It's just a bit of a data in your wallet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is the thing because I've seen as well, and you can't really open your phone without seeing cryptocurrency pop up, whether it be on Twitter or on TikTok or whatever social media, other social media platforms are available, whichever ones you do like. But for me, it's a case of that's what the advice has become now. Oh, just slam 100 quid. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. And it's like I remember when people were talking about Dogecoin when it was like apparently like popping off and like skyrocketing. People like, yeah, that's it, Doge to the moon. This is the way it's going to be. But it's like, surely all of that faith and the reason that it's skyrocketing is just on the basis that there's hype surrounding that particular thing at that time. So it's not actually based on any kind of inherent value because you can't actually spend it in many places. I mean, Bitcoin's probably a bit different. It has slightly more practical uses nowadays because Bitcoin is the biggest cryptocurrency. But surely there's just no it's literally just all hype. You're believing that something's got value because it has. It's a bit like, for instance, when I see art and some, again, insert whichever artist you can think of, just decides to streak a brush across a piece of canvas and you see it go at Christie's for 45 million quid. It's like, where is the value? Is it because that person has touched that paper with brush? Because inherently there is no value to that piece of art. Or similarly, how long ago was it when that bloke stuck a banana to a wall?
Yeah, brilliant. But go back to what you said though. But the thing is, right? I get what you're saying about what is value, and that goes back to say, you know, what I was saying earlier about our currency is just metal and paper, and so what gives that value? The thing about the art though is at least there is something tangible that is of a value. That value is obviously in this the owner and the purchaser. But with Bitcoin, the value is coming from the trading of it, the buying and selling of it, but it isn't real.
Yeah,
Do you see
yeah.
what I mean? So the value is coming from it, the trading. It's not, or potentially whoever the big celeb is talking about it, whether it's Elon Musk or anyone else. But at least in art, wine, gold, there's a physical entity that is where the value is placed. It's not
Yeah.
from the buying and selling purely of something that you could then use to buy something, and that's what I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. And again, you know what? I don't know if people listening to this that do know a lot about cryptocurrency will be legitimately like racking their ears because they can't be bothered to hear what we're saying, and that's also again perfectly fine. But yeah, this is the thing for me. I just feel like it's no inherent value. It's hype. So like Elon Musk tweets about something, and all of a sudden price skyrockets. I mean, when you actually think about it, like Elon Musk is actually basically doing insider trading, but out in the open.
Yeah,
Like he is actively turning around and being like Doge and changing his Twitter bio to Doge, and all of a sudden people make lots and lots of money.
it's
But
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, but again, that shows you how volatile it is in and of itself. Like in my mind, I see it more as a gamble as opposed to anything else. Like I see it like the equivalent of saying, if you're going to say go and stick 50 quid on cryptocurrency, I'd just go and slam 50 quid on a roulette wheel. That's kind of the
Mm.
equivalent, more of an equivalent to me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it has taken the world by storm. Like, celebrities are getting in on it, like YouTubers that I follow are getting in on it, and obviously, like, they've got millions of pounds to play around with regardless. So, I mean,
That's the
it's
thing.
not
That's
a
the
huge
thing.
thing. And also, are people in the public eye pushing the hype because it's based on hype to make money? So when you see celebrities, we've seen I mean, I've personally seen a load of like YouTube scandals where people have been basically promoting like shit cryptocurrencies that they hold a really high like bulk value of, and then flogging them because they've got viewers to turn around and purchase to drive the price up, and then they've dipped out. And so as a result, is it just not like high profile celebs stroke well known influencers basically taking the piss out of the masses?
I think so. I think so. We mentioned it a couple of episodes, didn't we? A couple of episodes ago, where you can slate a product and wipe billions off its market value, but also be pictured with it and you add the value
Yeah,
to it. So I absolutely do. Going back to what you were saying, would I want to put if I saw a cheapish one now, would I risk putting 50 quid on? Maybe, but that's because I've got confidence that everyone, when the public are absolutely, like I said, whether it's a fad or not, infatuated by something, they will get everything, every element of that that's available. So there could be a case of biding your time with a cheap one now because people are going to lap it up soon
yeah,
just to
yeah,
get in on that. Your original question, do I think I could see it in the future? I mean, right now, I don't see how because, like I said, it isn't at the moment, it isn't a real, or to me, it's got the word currency, but like I said, you can't, maybe some businesses you can, but we're not going out to work and earning cryptocurrency. We're earning pounds, dollars. We're not
yeah,
earning crypto. But then if you'd have told me 20 years ago that you'd be walking around paying for items with your mobile phone, tapping a phone to a device, I'd have been telling you that that's crazy.
yeah,
So
yeah. This is true.
the thing is, it feels at the moment. I thought it was a fad, and I think there's an element of it being not necessarily a fad, but being for a certain area or percentage of the population. The thing is, it's here and now, and it is becoming more. More, like some people are talking about it. It's on TikTok. It's just a general social media platform for making dancing videos. It's made its mark to the extent of how popular and how available I think it's going to be, and that's where I think the interest is going to come in the future.
Because again, when we were setting up to talk about cryptocurrency, which again I'm going to caveat that we know fuck all about, um, I was also going to talk about NFTs, right? Because obviously this is something that's blown up, and my first knowledge of NFTs really came about, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but because of Logan Paul. Obviously, I'm big into my YouTube scene, and so I kind of know what's going down in just YouTube space, I guess. And obviously, he's one of the biggest creators, and he was doing at one point, like Pokemon card unboxings.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he was really the first time I'd heard of NFTs. Now, I imagine you have as well.
Yeah.
So, NFT stands for non fungible token. Now, from what I understand, it basically means that something is unique and cannot be copied. So, it's like something that's digital that's just unique, basically. So,
Yeah.
whereas a
Yeah.
Bitcoin, if I traded you one Bitcoin for one Bitcoin, I'd have one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, the
Yeah.
value, my thing hasn't changed, basically. So NFTs, my first again experience with them was because Logan Paul was turning like clips of his videos into NFTs and then selling them. So the video was still public, but you essentially became the owner of that clip. basically.
Hmm.
And obviously, it's kind of expanded to go on to people basically selling art, but digitally. So somebody will create a piece of artwork, turn it into an NFT, and then sell that piece of artwork. Now, it doesn't stop somebody screenshotting it, or I guess using it as their own background. However, you are the digital owner of that piece of art, and nobody else can do that.
Yeah,
So the way that it's been most commonly described is like you can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, but you're not the owner of the Mona Lisa.
absolutely, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard about a particular NFT project, and this is Bored Ape.
No, no. Let's say no.
So Bored Apes are basically pictures of apes, all with like unique styles. So there's ones that are like zombies, ones with hats on, all sorts of
Right.
things. Right. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
this is really just as basic as you can get. And they've really been hyped up at the minute to the point where I think it was what's that talk show host in America? Is it Jimmy Fallon? Not Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. He changed his picture on Twitter to his Bored Ape, the one that he owns.
All
Um,
right.
and so all of a sudden, the price of these digital apes has been skyrocketing, obviously, because it does, because celebrities have been tweeting about them. And I saw people talking about the value in and of themselves, basically. I'm going to have to link to something else and then I'm going to come back. So I saw somebody talking to Quentin Tarantino about NFTs. And this person basically said to Quentin Tarantino, you could take the whole movie of Pulp Fiction and turn every frame into an NFT. He was like, and then imagine the frame where you've got John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson's character pointing the guns. Do you know where they shoot those kids in that
Oh
while they're
yeah,
eating the
yeah.
burgers? Yeah. He was like, that would be worth millions. And so Quentin Tarantino was just like, right, sorry, but what makes it worth money? And then the guy was just like, well, basically, obviously, because Quentin Tarantino said everybody had one of those bootleg posters on their wall, right? So everybody
Okay,
had a
right, right.
bootleg poster on their wall. He was like, so what makes it value? And then the guy turned around and said, oh, well, it's like the sense of ownership. It's that digital code to say that you are the owner of that frame in your film, which is iconic. And I'm like, so is it just the value of ownership that makes it valuable? And then it just seemed to make no sense because it was a bit backwards. I'm just like, right, I understand it. Yeah, you own Quentin Tarantino's frame of those two characters pointing a gun, but where is the value in that inherently? Again, there is no inherent value in it. Quentin Tarantino still owns the film. Anybody can have a look at that picture. The ownership of that particular frame as an NFT, what does that actually mean in like practical terms? I wanted to say physical then, but it isn't physical terms.
But that's exactly my point again. I still really value the physical media. In a world where everything is digital, I still love my physical albums. I still love my, the physical pictures. So the NFTs at the moment, I'll be honest with you, almost don't hold much interest. And that's why I agree with you. I think it's putting the value of ownership of something unique. But what's the point of that if it doesn't feel like it can be enjoyed?
Yeah,
It's just like you said, yeah, you are buying the value there is in the ownership. There's this record company like doing these unique random releases. Now, one of the things they're looking at, and sorry, and by that I mean it might be an album where they've got like a animated picture on it. It could be a different kind of vinyl color. It could be the artwork. They're looking at the next thing and they're looking at NFTs, or they mention NFTs. And the first thing, everyone's criticizing it, saying, no, don't. And again, the question is why it can be something that's truly unique that you can own. And I think that's where the understanding isn't out there yet, because I don't care necessarily about owning something specifically unique. I just want to own something cool.
yeah.
Like you said, the screenshot. Yeah, okay. People say, well, you don't own that. You've screenshotted it, but I don't care. I've got a screenshot. I've got a photo of the Mona Lisa. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I mean, maybe the counter argument for it would be is it's like, oh well, you don't have to go out and buy a Monet to enjoy the artwork. You can look at a picture of a Monet, but you want it hanging on your mantelpiece, don't you? So
Yeah.
I guess that's maybe the only equivalent. But again, it's still not a physical thing. Like, what do you do when somebody comes around? Like, do you turn around and say, oh my god, look at my Bored Ape collection? And I'm just like, okay, fantastic, some digital monkeys. Because again, when people have talked about Bored Ape, so basically it's the Bored Ape Yacht Club. is from what I understand it to be, and it
Mm.
comes along with basically a membership to an exclusive club where you get invited to like parties and you become a member, and your way in is by owning one of their bits of art. So I'm just like, well, inherently, then the value isn't in the image on screen, or the ownership of the image on screen. The value is in the circle of really prestigious friends that you've created because they're all owners of these really expensive bullshit pieces of art, basically. So
Hmm.
you're not actually purchasing one because you enjoy the art, you like the art, you're owner of the art. You're buying it because you want an invite to an exclusive club of people that you can network with. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's a bit like high level art auctions in reality, isn't it? When you're sitting there in a room and there's people bidding hundreds of millions of pounds on a fucking Banksy or whatever they might be bidding on. They're
But
there.
sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, go on, go on.
Hasn't this always been a thing about the privileged few being in possession of certain things and almost like you said, an exclusive club? It's just what that club wants is evolving.
Yeah, but my issue with it though is that anything can be turned into an NFT. So I'm sure that obviously we don't do video recordings at the minute, and I'm glad because I look awful. However, we could take a screen grab of this podcast that we're recording right now and turn it into an NFT, and we can continuously do that because you can turn anything into an NFT. When you go out and you look at a Leonardo da Vinci, the reason that Leonardo da Vinci is going for £300 million is because Leonardo da Vinci, number one, lived a long time ago and didn't make many paintings. And they're physically hard to come by because they are rare things to have even existed up until this point. Your collection of Bored Apes will exist until the end of time, and there will be, I don't know how many of them there are, I don't care to be honest with you, but they will exist till the end of time. There's no inherent value in the ownership of them. Again, similarly, it's like people have said, oh well, it's a way for artists to get their art into the world because of, they can monetize their art. I'm just like, but if there's no hype behind your art, which is what this is all about, then it's still worth fuck all, just as if you'd have done it in person and drawn it on a canvas.
But it's a clever thing here, though, that the hype is the hype itself. The hype is the medium, sorry, rather than what it is. Like we said, is cryptocurrency so big because there's a fad? Maybe that's what the hype is. It doesn't matter what the product is.
Do you know what this reminds me of from a real world example? Do
Go
you
on.
remember? I can't remember if it was a couple of years ago. I mean, it was probably lasted a little bit longer. Do you remember like Hype Beast clothing was like Supreme items,
Oh,
for
right. Yep.
instance?
Yep.
And then Supreme decided to basically just bung their logo on absolutely everyday objects just for the sake of then charging 500 quid. So, like, you legitimately had a Supreme brick or a Supreme sun lounger or a Supreme wrench or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. Again,
Yeah.
literally every item that you could possibly think of. I'm sure there was a Supreme pencil sharpener to charge a premium, and they were basically just going off of the hype because it's like, oh, well, I must collect them because it's Supreme and people are really into it. And now, do you see anybody in Supreme clothing? Do you see the hype be still hanging about? Maybe on some dark corner of the internet they do, but they certainly aren't in the mainstream anymore. And that's because people realised the Supreme clothing is a fucking box logo on a jumper, just like your Primark jumper, but without the logo. And that was the problem with that as well for me. Like it's an entire industry funded by people hyping each other up to say, "Oh my god, this must be worth something," because it is.
But do you not think, though, the beauty of the cryptocurrency is the word of mouth? So I knew, yeah, a few years ago, a couple of people I overheard people I work with talking about it. And, they were mining the Bitcoin and talking about the digital wallets. And then someone tells someone and then they get interested in it. And it almost feels like there's something, the fear of missing out, FOMO. Is that what it is? Because it's digital, because we live in that digital age now, is it, we saw, what was it, last year? Or was it earlier this year? The whole, the Robin Hood share thing on
Yeah,
Reddit.
yeah.
That the word of mouth for that spread, like wildfire, and it's about getting in on something while you can quick. Is that what we're seeing here? Is it the fact that it's a buzz and people want in on it while they can?
But when everybody is in on it, that does want to be in on it, and the hype goes no more, what happens?
But that's it.
Is my
It's the
question.
clever
So
people are the ones that can afford it, and like you said, it's the wealthy people who probably can afford it at the start, or the clever people, or the lucky people.
yeah, I think it's the clever people and the lucky people that are lucky and clever enough to get out before the hype finishes, basically, because that's what it is to me. I can't see any value in any of these things, if that makes, because they're not even things. Using the word things is actually
Yeah.
just incorrect because it's a some pixels on a screen, or it's some fake pixels in a crypto wallet.
That's the thing, right? So the first thing I did was look up what cryptocurrency was, and it probably still isn't make it that clear, but it's a collection of binary data which is designed to work as a medium of exchange. Individual coin ownership records are stored in a ledger, which is a computerized database using strong cryptography to secure transaction records. So I think the key thing about this is it is, like I said, it's data, and it's the encryption element of it, which makes this unique. Now, I think I took this from Forbes website. From what I can see, is they're actually saying that there's actually more than 1,600 different currencies right now,
Yeah.
which is insane that there's that many currencies already. So which ones should you be buying? Are they all interchangeable? You know, this is the thing at the moment. It's got the word currency in it, but it almost doesn't feel like it is because they're all so widely varied. Now, yes, the euro isn't the same as the pound, but like I said, at least that is physical currency. You could go anywhere in Europe, well, that has the euro, and you can use those same euros. Whereas here, this is like we said, it is just binary data that has been mined by a computer in in the case of Bitcoin. So where's this going to, or when and how will it become a standardized form of wealth?
Yeah, I mean, in reality, because there's been talk of like governments introducing like what are like virtual currencies, um, which again, or digital currencies, which seems mad to me. But my issue with like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of these things at the minute is because it's all volatile. So if you look at like the live price of Bitcoin, in July of 2021, it was £23,000 per Bitcoin. It then jumped to 35 on the 30 on in August of 2021, then dropped literally 2 weeks later to 32, and then jumped up to 48 in November, and is back down at 42 as of today when we're recording at the time of recording. So I'm just like, but again, when you look at actual like currency, it's not volatile in the same way that crypto is. And again, it's because the whole basis behind cryptocurrency is what's that term that the character in The Wolf of Wall Street uses? It's a fugazi, it's a fugazi, it's fairy dust. Is that it? Just something that's nothing. That's my big issue. I can't buy into it somehow. And don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are people that are probably listening to this that have made a bomb with
Yeah.
cryptocurrency,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
more power to you. I rate it, to be fair. However, I just don't see the long term application for it. And you know what? We've talked a lot about coming back to episodes. Maybe in 2 years' time, we're going to come back to this and be like, wish that I'd have bought into Bitcoin because now it's 6 bajillion pounds per coin. And, we missed out, didn't we?
It's the cast coin, the cast view coin. That's what you want.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Be
we
here
should
now.
just create a cryptocurrency and we should just give one to everyone that tweets us.
A couple of the things I was going to say though about it, I actually found, well, a story. It's almost like a one-liner, but one of the things about cryptocurrency, the problems was it was listed under human error and forgetfulness. So they were saying, like the prospect of being locked out, losing hardware, or facing geophysical risks such as a spilled coffee is enough to create losses. And wasn't there the famous case? Wasn't there a guy who had like millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, but he can't remember his password and he's down to his last try on it and
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it wrong.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, oh my God, how horrific must that be? But the funny thing I saw was apparently 50 Cent. I saw one liner that he forgot he accepted Bitcoin for an album release and then discovered I think he had $8 million worth of Bitcoin when he went to look at it because he forgot all about it. And again, it's like exactly that. An album was bought with Bitcoin and then he's just made like 8 million from it without even knowing it.
Well, I'm pretty sure along a similar line I'm pretty certain it was Lily Allen that turned down Bitcoin for a performance. Oh yeah, there we go. Here we go. I found it. Singer-songwriter Lily Allen turned down 200,000 Bitcoin for a gig in 2009. Now, this article was written in December of 2020, and the payment would be worth more than 4.7 billion US dollars at the day of the article's writings. The value at the time of the day of the article was produced, basically. But again, it kind of feels like when people say, "Oh, you should still get into Bitcoin," it's like, okay, but when does the slump come? When does the hype die? When do people realize that this isn't a thing? That's what it is for me, because at that point, people are going to lose money. It's like Elon Musk did an interview. Did you ever see where he's getting interviewed? He's the one where he's got like a bandana around his face.
No,
Um,
no.
he's basically being interviewed about cryptocurrency and talking about it, and people are like, oh, what would you advise? This, that. And he turns around and says, he was just like, well, don't play with more than you're willing to lose. He was just like, I think it's a good thing to do as an experiment. He was just like, but it's not necessarily something, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, that you should take as seriously as kind of pumping your life savings into it. He was like, you play around with a little bit here and there just as an experiment, but it's really no more than that. And in reality, I said to myself, I was just like, well, you know what? He has been tweeting about cryptocurrencies and that sort of thing, but does he just view it as something that is inherently stupid as well? Something to have fun with as opposed to something that's going to change the world?
That's why, and it goes back to kind of what we've both said, is that ultimately then it is gambling. It's like shares. That those words alone make you realize that this isn't anything that's potentially long-lastingly secure.
Yeah.
Just going back to the Lily Allen thing right now, obviously I'm not going to say she's like got money coming out of her ears, but that feels like an odd one because there's a one-off concert, and I don't know sort of when this was or in terms of Bitcoin's knowledge, but it's like, would you take the risk to do that? For a one-off concert, a payment in Bitcoin? I'm sure she could have probably sort of afforded to say, yeah, go on, let's see what happens.
Yeah, that was back when like Lily Allen was proper popular as well, and I mean, she would have been a billionaire. Could you imagine? But then
Yeah.
again, I guess if somebody turned around and said, "Hi, I'm literally offering you 200,000 virtual coins that don't actually have any intrinsic value because you can't actually touch them, you can't do anything with them, you can't pay for anything with them," would you have ever have looked at that and thought, "Oh yeah, you know what? That's a great business decision"? Would a business manager or a manager have said, "You know what? Yeah, Lily, I think that's a great decision. You should do this gig for 200,000 virtual coins"?
They would now, though. But yeah, no, I see your point. I see your point. It's amazing. Those are the fine margins we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one decision. I mean, I've seen another couple of stories. It all follows a similar vein of this guy. He got rid of a hard drive that all he thought he had were movies and games stored on it. And little did he know that he threw out 1,400 Bitcoin with the hard drive. That was worth $24.5 million. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I know for a fact I'm not going to accidentally chuck out 24.5 million pound notes, in pound
Yeah, yeah,
notes.
yeah. This is the thing. Like, have you ever thrown away old clothing and you've definitely checked the pockets to make sure that there's no like pound coins, £5 notes, or 50p's knocking about in there? You physically cannot lose the money that way. I don't know. It's
Here's another one, right? There's a guy here, and it's from a website called bitcoinchaser.com, accidentally dumped a hard drive, again, similar story, containing 7,500 Bitcoin, right? This had him stunned by the loss, which had him trace the collection, the trash collection to a landfill in Wales, and has made ties with financial backers to dig through the landfill site to find this hard drive. And do you know how much that would be worth at the moment?
gone.
$260 million at time of writing. And they're having to
Jesus.
dig through a landfill in Wales to try and find it. And that's the thing. It's almost like not how little they think of it, but how easy it is, how it's not a real thing. If you lost a tenner, you'd be turning the house upside down because you know that you've got had that tenner in your wallet, or on your online when you log on to your online bank app, you know exactly what you should be seeing, right?
Yeah, I've actually just had a look, and it's 331 million Great British pounds is what 7,500 Bitcoin is worth today,
Worth
and
now.
that's that's almost like to the person that owns Salvatore Mundi. Do you know that Da Vinci painting? Right, that's almost like him just completely forgetting that he's got Salvatore Mundi and throwing something on the bonfire at New Year's Eve because I need something to burn. That like you wouldn't do that with any other physical thing, with cash, with art, with jewelry, with gold, but somehow like that's how cryptocurrency can be lost. The fact that you've decided to just lock yourself out your account like you would do Facebook.
So I've got just a couple more stories here on here actually. And this one was, have you ever had too much to drink and regret it the next day? Well, this man actually did that, but made the best decision of his life. In 2015, bought a bunch of Bitcoin 6 years earlier and forgotten about them, and now they've grown to an estimated net worth of around 500k after being purchased for less than £20. And in 2012, a 15-year-old spent a gift of $1,000 of Bitcoin and sold them just a year and a half later for a hefty $100,000 profit.
But again, do you think maybe as well, because this is what you hear. You hear these stories where someone's thrown away hundreds of millions of pounds worth of Bitcoin. Somebody turned around and decided to spend X amount on some Bitcoin after a drunk night or whatever it might be. And the stories are what creates the hype. The average person that's buying into cryptocurrency isn't doing this.
Yeah,
The average person, that the online gurus or the celebs or the influencers that are trying to get people involved in cryptocurrency, the average person in the street is not doing this. They are not benefiting in any humongous way. And like I said, if you are making money from cryptocurrency, all the more power to you. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. However, I feel people are getting lulled into it because they think believe the hype. When in reality, if you'd have bunged a grand on Apple shares or Amazon shares 5 years ago, you'd still have a really nice return, and it's much more stable than your cryptocurrency's ever gonna be.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
that's
that's where the problem lies for me.
I think it will still be around in many years to come. I just still I think though it won't ever become more than almost like a plaything for those who can afford it and those who are lucky to stumble into it. I don't think it'll ever be massively mainstream. Even you, like you said, I mean, that kebab shop accepting Bitcoin, I think you said it was. Yeah, that's fun. It's got us talking about it. It's got them in the press. But also, you know, if they do get a Bitcoin, they'll probably know if anyone does pay for it like that. Well, they're probably potentially paying off their future.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a lose. It's a sorry, it's a lose lose. It's a win-win situation for that shop in that sense. So I can potentially see more places opening up to that because what's the downside of them accepting it? Because not everyone's going to buy. They won't have a rush of people buying kebabs with Bitcoin, right?
yeah, yeah.
But if they do get some, okay, we've said it will go down. But right now, what did you say? I don't know how much it's worth now. Did you say how much a Bitcoin was worth now?
About 44 grand, I think I said earlier.
Yeah. So if you're paying for a kebab with a Bitcoin now, more power to you. Do you know what I mean? And that shop is onto a winner.
Yeah, I mean, because I've looked at statistics as well for what percentage of people own cryptocurrency as well, and I guess the breakdown's relatively interesting. So, 8% of American adults own some form of cryptocurrency. So the number of men is actually twice higher than women. So double the amount of men own crypto that women do. But I think that that's just by virtue of nature. Like in reality, more men. If you were to walk past the bookies, you're much more likely to see men in the bookies than you are women, aren't you? Similarly, at the races, you're more likely to see men slamming lots and lots of money into high risk things because we are just more believe in hype better. I don't know. We're just less level headed, maybe you want to say. I don't know. But then it talked about millennials. 17% of the owners are millennials of that then breakdown, and baby boomers are only 2%. But again, do you think this is maybe just like a youth thing as well? Because again, if I was to look at Twitter and that sort of thing, all of the tipster accounts for anything else that is gambling like, they're all blokes that are all gambling on stuff. I just don't know if it's just like a hype thing amongst a community of people. I'm just exasperated.
I wonder if it comes from people with a bit of a techie background or interest as well. So I work in IT, and yeah, the people there all talk about it because it's like it felt like it was going to be the next big thing. You know, it's virtual, it's this and that. Get in on it. Is it that just appealing to people who are trying to make quick and easy money, or the hope of making quick and easy money? I think there's also, I say danger, but because there are people that, who are gonna spend all their fortune on the lottery, who are gonna go gambling. Is this appealing to certain people who think that's how they're gonna make their millions?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things. When we chose to do this, I kind of was keen because I don't know much about it, and like I said, it took me a while to even do banking on my mobile because I mean, I did it online. It's not to say that it was like, no, I don't need to do it on my phone. I've got it online. But then you start doing it on your mobile, and you think, yeah, this is the way to go. I think the crucial bit is in the next couple of years. Now, whether COVID has helped direct people's interest to more things online because you are online all the time and people are saying, well, maybe that's where there's safety in digital investment. I don't know. So is that what's spearheading it? But I think the next couple of years are going to be crucial to see what kind of foothold this gets. But I still think it is just going to be a thing for the people who are already in on it and can afford to kind of trade with each other. I mean, if you've got over 1,600 variations of it now at the moment, I only know a couple of people myself who talk about it. It's not like I know loads of people who are
Yeah.
saying, "Oh yeah, this Bitcoin, this cryptocurrency is brilliant."
I'm going to make a bold. I'm going to
Go
go
for it.
bold.
Go
I'm
for
going to
it.
make bold prediction. I think crypto is going to die a really, really quick death one day. I think. I think the cryptocurrencies that we see now are all based on hype, are all based on something that's not tangible and is fake in any case anyway. And I think that in reality, it's been a get even richer quick scheme by people that, like you say, can afford to fuck about with it, basically. Because I mean, I don't actually know why Bitcoin was originally created. Maybe I understand it was created to be some sort of like decentralized method of exchange, and 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 I just cannot see it being something that we're using. Are we replacing the pound with cryptocurrency in reality?
But that's the
I
other
don't
thing I
think
didn't
so.
get with Bitcoin at the start was that it was being made by all the computers. Basically, the computing power, wasn't it? It was you turn your computer over for people to use its processing power to then make bits of this
Yeah.
binary code to then make the Bitcoin. And it's like, why have you got to do that? It's bizarre. I kind of agree with you, but if people were listening, need to get rid of their Bitcoin quick before it does, die a death. If you want to chuck it our way, we'll gladly take this Bitcoin off you.
But yeah, I mean that's my prediction. I mean, again, I might look like a complete and utter moron in 10 years' time when all of the people around me are crypto billionaires, and I'm sitting with my £2 £2 in my pocket, counting together change in old British money. But yeah, I just don't see it as a thing. Similarly with the whole NFT thing, like as we've discussed with the whole like Bored Ape, like you got Bored Ape pictures going for $700,000, millions of dollars. But again, the value isn't even being held in the ownership of that thing. The value is the membership of the club that you are a part of, and the members of that club are the celebrities, the influencers, all because they get access to a club of other people that are like them. It just seems like I don't know. I feel like again, like I said, I'm gonna end it on this note with the fact that I feel like it's influencers and celebs getting regular people to get hyped into something so that people can make a
I think
buck.
for me, my final point is I think it is going to be to see what the next couple of years bring because I don't see what the next step is because whilst it's not the same, most of us are using our currency virtually now anyway. I mean, I've spoken about having a tenner in my wallet or coins. I very rarely have cash on me anymore. If I go to a shops,
Yeah,
I pay with card. Most of my purchases are done online. Between us, I've sent you money via the bank transfer. Most people now aren't using a physical form of currency anyway. So the thing is, what's the game plan for cryptocurrency? Do you see what I'm trying to say? We're already using,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
use the term virtual loosely, but we're already using virtual payments everywhere. So whilst in some ways that can make people more open to a cryptocurrency in the future because they're already using a a theoretical they're sending theoretical money around the internet now anyway. But I don't see where cryptocurrency fits in with regular money.
yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, as well, what I've found and what I've seen when I've looked at cryptocurrency online, and again, you get it either through Reddit or whether on TikTok communities or Twitter, is all of the cryptocurrency communities feel like a bit of an echo chamber where people are just talking about how brilliant something is, how brilliant something is. And I'm going to look this up because, again, it was noted because people were moaning about this person. And Logan Paul had somebody on his podcast who was like a traditional like banking type,
Hmm.
if that
Hmm.
makes sense. And the comments were all, oh, this guy, yeah, of course he's saying it because, you know, he's got no faith in it because he's not involved in it and it doesn't benefit him. And I'm just like, no, but this is somebody who's giving you a different perspective. This is somebody who isn't in the cryptocurrency bubble, who is giving you a different opinion that you haven't heard yet because you are in the Reddit forums, in the
Hmm.
Twitter communities, in the TikTok guru pages, and you are hearing the same thing over and over again. You need to expand. You need to hear opinions from people that are traditional Wall Street or traditional stock exchange, or do you know what I mean? You need to hear from the old school to see, because otherwise you are just keeping yourself in this like millennial chamber of cryptocurrency is amazing, Doge to the moon, and that actually makes no sense. You should be open to a converse opinion. Similarly with me, if somebody after they hearing this episode wanted to sit down with me for an hour and enlighten me about the benefits of cryptocurrency and how they feel it's going to take off and change the world, I'd be more than welcome to listen, and more than welcome
I've
to
got
listen to
two
the
final
justification.
things to say, right? The first thing is, if there is a podcast out there that's based on cryptocurrency, you want to have us on to so we can ask questions, get in contact with us, because seriously, we're not mocking this. We just, I'd be, like you said, I'd be absolutely curious to know what the kind of like the experts think about this. And the last thing I was going to
Yeah.
say, I'm just looking at a website here. It's theverge.com, right? And it's got a GIF of Dogecoin, right? The sentence underneath is brilliant, right? And this, I think, sums up in my head the confusion. It says Dogecoin isn't an NFT, but this GIF of a Dogecoin is. Do you see what I mean?
Just again, what I'll do is I'll find a point in it for all of the crypto people that are listening to this and all of the people that aren't. His name was Peter Schiff, and he was one that basically a financial advisor that predicted the '08 market crash and all sorts. Proper traditional financial guy. But again, it was just interesting to see how like it's like it feels like really partisan. I feel like if you are into cryptocurrency, it's the best thing since sliced bread, because there is nothing. This is the future, and if you're not, it makes absolutely no sense because it's just a fad. So I feel like maybe there's a little bit of middle ground there, but I'd be open to be enlightened from either side, to be honest with you. What we're going to do is we're going to touch back on this episode in like 2 years' time and see if we are correct or incorrect about our predictions for cryptocurrency. I feel like, you know what, if this podcast blows up and we've got hundreds of thousands of viewers, imagine how this bit of audio would just be memed for eternity.
Yeah, well, at least we'll have made our fame. Well, maybe
Yeah,
that
that's
meme
true.
can be an NFT that we hopefully
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, imagine how much money. Yes, yes, that's what it is. Cryptocurrency will fail 100%. Gonna hit the floor. No way
an
going to the moon.
NFT of us saying NFTs are worthless.
If you'd like to hear more episodes of us talking about something that we've got where we've got no fucking idea what we're going on about, do let us know. As usual, pop us a tweet at castingviews, drop us an email at castingviewspod@gmail.com. And as usual, I'll try not to mess it up this time. We know there's many podcasts from which you can choose, so we thank you for listening to Casting Views.
Done it.
Boom!
See ya.